ever since I was little, my mom and my sisters would always tell me stories of forests, fairies, and elves, all these mythical creatures living among the trees. And it made me respect as a child of these ancient beings that have been on the earth long before man. Over time, learning about science and how the world is the way it is just made me respect it even more and made me feel really a part with it, made me feel closer. As I got older, I also learned about the modern day problems with global warming, deforestation, and made me see that these forests are being cut down and leveled. And I just felt really sorry. I felt really bad for the forest critters and those fairies losing their homes. And I just want to do everything I can as an environmentalist and activist to help and bring those forests back and return civilization to where it had begun. Before all this garbage, this trash, the smog, just everything that we did to ruin it and return it back to its cleaner state. My goal as a young environmentalist of my age is not to acquire the attention of all Americans, because everyone is within their rights if they want to remain ignorant or unenlightened. But I do hope to acquire the attention of my peers in regards to a cleaner environment. My name is Rivera, and I'll be interviewing Mr. Heston of Granada Hills Charter High School.
And I'm a marine biology teacher, and environmental science teacher.
So let's begin. What can you tell me about global warming and the environment?
When you're speaking about the environment, you're talking about global warming. What we're really talking about are natural fluctuations that we see in nature. And so if we look back throughout history of the planet, history of life on this planet, we've seen the temperatures fluctuate on a fairly regular basis, sometimes regular, sometimes not so regular. But what we do see is variation. That's normal. We've seen ice ages, we've found warm periods during the dinosaurs, and so forth. What's happening today is that we are in a certain period of relative good climate, but the problem is that we have learned how to use a type of fuel which is basically, in essence, ancient sunlight, because we've taken a fuel which we call a fossil fuel. We're digging it up out of the ground and we're burning them to do work for us. So we don't have to walk, we can drive. If we want to go across the oceans, no problem. We'll fly at 35,000 feet and get to Hong Kong in 12 hours, no problem, because we can use these fossil fuels to do all our work for us. The problem is there's always a price to everything that we do, and part of that price is that there are normal fluctuations in climate, but when we add greenhouse gases, which are a product, carbon dioxide, that is carbon dioxide, from these fossil fuels we pull out of the ground, then we can make some of these natural fluctuations more extreme than they ought to be. And if we get to certain areas or certain points like what we call tipping points or thresholds, then these can be some serious runaway problems that can bring problems for humans and, of course, other organisms on the planet.
To invent a cleaner, safer, cheaper energy future together. Thank you very much.
Climate changes affect us?
It's not one of those things that we see a real quick cause and effect. If you've been around a while, say my age, I can say to myself, things are not right. When I was younger, things weren't like this. We didn't have these kinds of extreme storms again and again and again. But that's utterly unscientific. So scientists, climate scientists, and so forth have to really look at the data, get the numbers, get the information, and they go through this. And just recently, they released their latest report saying that, well, they even have more consensus at this time, at least 97% of the scientific community saying that climate change is a real thing. And that's one of the, probably the greatest degrees of scientific consensus, where everybody agrees on something about what's happening in nature ever in the beginning of time. So it's a real serious problem, and it's just getting worse. And right now, the IPCC, which is the International Panel on Climate Change, took the gloves off. And they finally said, we're not going to be dilly-dallying around here because we don't have time. If we don't do something in 15 years, we're going to have some serious trouble.
The announcement by the scientific community yesterday that we have broken previous records on minimum ice in the Arctic should be a wake-up call that industrialization of the Arctic is criminal, that oil drilling in the Arctic is senseless, and that in fact time is fast running out for us to avert catastrophic climate change.
And any little part that could possibly help contribute to a brighter future than what we have right now. Garbage littering the streets and recycling facilities that try to help with this, but end up not recycling an enormous percent of this plastic that we just dump into the streets, and instead get thrown into a third world country where they're forced to live among this trash that we refuse to get rid of the garbage here. And we're only bringing whatever ill fortunes with it. We bring it on ourselves.
Electronic waste, or e-waste, is one of the fastest growing waste streams around the world today. It is fueled by the exponential growth of personal computers in the market and by their rapid rate of obsolescence. They say a huge cloud of toxic smoke containing organic chemicals such as brominated flame retardants and PCBs covers the pool next to the playground, jeopardizing the health of these children.
It's different because it's time now for the first time to look comprehensively.
What can we do to save the environment from these changes?
What we can do is understand what we are doing, and which means that we have to have a better job of educating people on these particular issues.
We all remember that song, that really, really annoying song that we all try to forget, because it was from that point of time where we don't want to remember anything from our childhood, all those really embarrassing things that we used to believe in.
But when we really start to think about it, this is probably the most important song you could ever hope to remember from your childhood. This song teaches us about the 3 steps of recycling: reduce, reuse, recycle. Yes, it's very repetitive, and it can be really agitating, and a song that just gets stuck in your head and that you can't get out no matter how hard you try. But that's probably why it's so important. This song is taught to children at an early age in order to burn it into our minds of the importance of recycling. That assembly from all those years ago in elementary or middle school is probably the most important event of our lives because it opens our mind to the reality that our world is filthy with our own waste. And those 3 easy steps teach us how easy it can be to change our world. And though the song may prove to be very irritating to even think about, you can't deny that it is very catchy because you can still remember those 3 easy steps.
Reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
I think that young people would really take this to heart. I think they would really get serious about it if they could. I'm a product of the 60s, and I remember how we felt in the 60s. And, we didn't stay calm. We got angry. We got mad about it. We would do something about it. Okay? That's one thing that needs to be done. It needs to be based on sound education. Other things contribute to carbon dioxide besides burning fossil fuels. Another one is destroying forest, deforestation. Because forests and trees, they suck carbon dioxide out of the environment, which provides an ecological service for this planet, for us, for everybody. So we need to figure out other ways of using energy in ways that are non-polluting or change the climate in adverse ways. Because some major things that are happening right now that we're really concerned about is how we're affecting natural environments, effects of deforestation, and then also extinction rates on other organisms.
A woman who spent the past 2 years living in a redwood trees back on solid ground, Julia Butterfly Hill, came down from her 18-story high perch after reaching an agreement to save the 600-year-old tree from loggers.
I understand that all of us are governed by different values, and I understand that to some people I'm just a dirty tree-hugging hippie, but I can't imagine being able to take a chainsaw to something like this.
When you protect an ancient forest, you're protecting some of the trees. You're protecting the life in a very deep, sacred way that embodies knowledge that goes far beyond human comprehension. I had to give my word to Luna and to the forest, to myself, to the world, that I wouldn't come down on the ground again. I wouldn't walk on the earth again until I'd done everything I possibly could to make the world aware and to bring about some change.
The soil is completely disrupted, it's completely torn up, it's going to erode. What happens is that there's a net decrease in the amount of species in this area. The species that depend on old growth, like spotted owls, woodpeckers, have no place to go. This is done on a very large slope here. It's probably an illegal one, but no one watches it. It's going to go down, all this soil is going to erode down into the creek down there. If there's any trout breeding grounds down there, they'll probably be destroyed.
We are offering a fundamental challenge and critique of industrialism, progress, and technology. Are we Luddites? You're damn right we're Luddites. Do we love the sight of a burning bulldozer? We love the sight of a burning bulldozer.
Over the years, illegal logging has proved to be a major threat to our forests. It's nearly impossible to tell the difference between legally and illegally chopped down trees, so loggers often get away with deforestation.
APP announced its forest conservation policy the most significant part of which was a commitment to protect all natural forests throughout its supply chain.
Today is a very important day for APP. We will announce our green commitment to the world. As a proud Indonesian company and as a global leader, APP wants to set a benchmark for forest production for others in our industry to follow.
Some countries have found alternatives to dealing with trash and environmental issues. In recent years, India has begun converting the plastic litter in their streets into new mixed roads.
What we need to do is get bridge fuels so that we can start putting money behind other types of energy sources that we can use that are clean energy, like hydrogen, like electrical energy, solar energy, and so forth. You know, we have this thing in the sky called the sun. Big, bright thing comes up every day, produces incredible amounts of energy. The amount of energy it'll produce in a couple of seconds will run this country for a year. But the problem is we have been sold down the river once again by the fossil fuel industry in the sense that they go, oh, don't pay any attention. That big bright thing in the sky, don't pay any attention to that. Okay? It's just trying to get your attention.
For almost every homeowner, heating water is the #1 use of natural gas electricity. And using the sun to heat is much cheaper.
Now you've got the consumer that can work with their pocketbook. They can buy the renewable energy sources like solar and wind power and so forth, other things they can do, electric cars. And if more people are using these types of resources, it's only going to feed that with their pocketbook, and they can keep on developing newer and better products with respect to what we call renewable energy. Renewable energy, a form of energy that's non-polluting, does not produce things like greenhouse gases. All of these things are precipitating out of, as far as I'm concerned, this carbon economy that we're running on. If we use renewables, then we would, and didn't chop down our forests left and right, and we controlled our population, we'll probably be okay.
Well, thank you very much for the interview. It was very helpful.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Organizations like Greenpeace can use protests and activism enough to get their message out, but these can only go so far if other people are willing to listen, because our world has come down to whether we choose to listen or to remain ignorant.